Cool. All right, welcome everybody. We kind of got a special episode podcast where I want to expound upon the Ahmaud Arbery case. I have with me again my buddy Matt, my business partner Matt, and we're going to kind of look at this from an objective point of view. There's been some new video that just came out that we kind of want to talk about. And also the video that I did a couple days ago, even though at the time we didn't really know all the facts. I believe the way that I approached it, talking about escalation of force, stand your ground or whatnot, I still think that applies regardless of what Ahmaud Arbery allegedly did or was planning to do. So essentially, guys, what the new video shows is has it been confirmed that it was him, or was it just like allegedly?
No, there's been several videos that have come to light, which we'll get on that in later. But the one that has proven that it is him, there apparently was a surveillance video inside the house.
Yes,
he was identified. That was him that was in there. The second one, of course, from across the street, the doorbell camera where he comes running outside, which that was a terrible video. But and then obviously the video that went that everyone else has seen of the actual crime taking place.
Yeah. So the thing with him going inside, so it was a vacant house under construction. Yes. So nobody was living there. So it's I don't think you could consider that burglary.
Yes, actually you can. In the state of Georgia, anything that has walls that is considered to be a dwelling, which is, and that's where it becomes, because if you look at the interior video, it doesn't have walls, interior walls. It's got exterior walls, but it's gutted. It's studs inside. But once it has exterior walls, it is considered a dwelling. Its purpose is for residents. Okay. I'm 90% sure that's the case. That is Georgia law, which I just read the other day. So, but that's what I took from it.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, guys, we kind of want to talk about this kind of from a citizen's defense, concealed carrier, self-protection, defensive shooter situation. Matt's going to kind of provide a little bit of information, a little bit of a different viewpoint from an officer standpoint, but nonetheless, it'll all be good. One quote that I want to give that kind of might be, and I guess before we go further, Matt and I are in agreement that we believe that the two shooters, the McMichael father and son, screwed up on this one.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's no winners. There's just losers to various degrees. I think the McMichael family, the father and son, I think they really screwed up on this one. Regardless of what Ahmaud Arbery, what his intentions were, what he was doing, just looking at the video, we really think that they kind of screwed the pooch on this, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about. But yeah, so Tom Givens has a quote, and I use this with all the students that come in through the hybrid LTC class, and it essentially sums up what concealed carry is, or what citizen self-defense is. And that quote is this: "I will forget I have a gun unless I need it to terminate an immediate deadly threat to me or to someone else for whom I am responsible for." So as we talked throughout this episode, this podcast, just kind of think about that, bring that back into your mind. I will forget I have a gun unless I need it to terminate an immediate deadly threat to me or to someone for whom I am responsible for. So, like I said, the new video shows what looks to be Arbery going through a house. We can't necessarily. Some people assume that he was had a malicious intent, trying to maybe look for something to steal, but from the surveillance footage, and I think even from testimony from the owners, nothing was taken.
No.
So regardless of what his intentions were, I don't think there's any proof that, even if, like I said, whatever his plan was, nothing happened. And so when we talk about law, we can't necessarily we can't play the what if game. Absolutely. We have to play the what is game. What actually happened? So we can't go back and forth. Well, if this, and if he didn't go into that house, then they wouldn't have had a reason to chase him. Well, guys, and when we talk about law, it's what are the facts, what actually did happen. So but nonetheless, we don't know his motives, and we can only talk about the facts of what is. So let's talk, let's talk citizen's arrest. What are your views on that?
I agree with it up to a point. And I know you have your stance where you don't agree with it at all, and I understand that. But here's...
I wouldn't say I agree with it at all, but I'll let you go.
Here's my issue with that is knowing your limits, knowing when to stop, and understanding what it is. One of the things that I ask a lot of people and a lot of things is the juice worth the squeeze, not to steal a line from a movie.
I love
that movie. I do too. But and that's just it. Is putting you or yourself or possibly your family, if they're in the car with you, which I have seen many times, is it worth putting yourself in that kind of an altercation to detain a possible criminal? And again, we're not talking about, walking through the aisles of a supermarket here and you see somebody stuffing their pants full of T-bones and trying to slip out and stopping them. Hey, man, no, you need to stop. You need to pay for that, or holding them there until they call the cops. And, okay, let's even go there. You get to that point. They decide they don't want to comply with you. Then what? Do you have the capability to defend yourself without causing them bodily harm?
Yes.
Because now you're setting yourself up civilly, highly, just as you are with a firearm, but good luck justifying that. My opinion, and what any officer, anytime we deal with people who call us and ask us what they can do to get involved or what they can do to help, be a good witness. These guys, this whole situation here could have been, and I understand one of them was a former police officer, whatever. In that case, he should have known better. This whole situation could have been avoided had these two guys followed behind him, got on the phone with the police, who, as we saw, were less than 2 or 3 minutes out, because you watched the full-length video from the neighbor's doorbell cam.
Two cop cars
and an ambulance.
Minutes behind. Yep. Yes.
And so, this guy's on foot, obviously, so you get in, you follow him in your vehicle, guide the police into him, and he gets taken down without incident, or if there is an incident, it's involving the police, not two white guys in a truck with shotguns on a black male in South Georgia. It's the optics of it look like shit. Sorry for my church friends that are watching. It's just the fact of the matter of it. But white, black, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, take race out of it. It's just the whole thing it's just, you have to understand that you are putting yourself in greater danger by attempting to conduct a citizen's arrest on a felon, which is the way the law is written, that citizens have the right to arrest a felon. Okay, this guy clearly has already shown he doesn't give a shit about you, your laws, or your feelings, whatever. And you don't have you lack the training or the legal knowledge or whatever to effect that arrest, and you're going to put yourself at risk for that.
So we're not saying Ahmaud Arbery is a felon. We're saying that's that's what the law says. So you actually have to I think you have to witness a felony,
in commission of a felony
being seen. So going back. I'm not a big fan of citizen's arrest. I think that there's a time and a place, and I referenced in the other video, I think in 2017, you guys can look it up. You can get on the Google machine and find it. In 2017, there was a drunk driver in Houston that a group of people ended up some way got him to pull over, and citizens arrested this drunk driver. That's what it's for. If you see some significant felonious activity that, in my opinion, is going to result, in the death or the severe bodily harm of I'm looking out for my family first.
Most definitely.
If it's my family and it's not my fight, I'm probably not going to get involved. But if I'm not there, you got to make that decision yourself. But here's the thing, and I was actually talking with my buddy Josh at lunch today about citizens arrest. So when we talk civilians, we cannot, and I mentioned it in the previous video, we cannot escalate force.
Nope.
Okay, so we are always playing defense. We are always on the defensive. We're always one step behind the power curve because we don't get to pick the time, the place, the location, how many there's going to be. We essentially have to be prepared for whatever comes our way. So you cannot escalate force. You can only respond with the same level of force that you reasonably believe is being used against you.
Yes.
Okay. So with that being said, so I can't escalate force. So let's talk citizen's arrest from a civilian's perspective, and this is how I see it. So saying that I can't escalate force, and I'm pretty sure we know probably for a fact Ahmaud Arbery did not have a weapon. I don't think we saw that he had a weapon.
Everything that I saw showed nothing.
Okay. So that being said, if I'm going to citizen's arrest somebody who does not have a weapon, you got to remember, as a civilian, you have no, as a cop, you have a uniform that basically shows, you have authority, right?
Yes.
A civilian does not have that. So in the event that you're trying to citizen's arrest somebody, kind of put yourself in the other person's shoes, he's probably thinking, who the hell are you that thinks that you have the right to, arrest me for whatever you think I'm doing? And so it's at that point, like I said, we can't escalate force. So it's at that point, you've got to know how to control, subdue, hands-on. You've got to know how to essentially force that person to comply with, like you said, without hurting them, without causing them bodily harm. The population of Americans that can do that is
very small.
Exactly. So I think that being said, unless you are trained in, restraining somebody or controlling them, like I said, be a good witness, keep a good, keep some distance, keep the police updated on what is going on about that.
And just getting back to what I said earlier, it's just, I don't see where the juice can be worth the squeeze. Even if you're a trained in control tactics, joint manipulation, whatever you feel that you can do without hurting someone, understand that you don't have control of anything. We have control of nothing. We don't know how that's gonna go. I don't care how well trained you are. Something could happen where you end up hurting this guy, and God forbid, it turned out that he was just out for a run. Yeah. Now you're looking at an assault charge. You're looking at the multiple civil thing. It's just I can't say, very rarely in the instance you brought up with the DWI. Hey, great job by those people.
Yeah.
But look at what they had. Probably, I think if I remember right, 3 or 4 people.
So that was that's disparity of force on the side of the arresting party.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what we had with the McMichael father and son. There was disparity of force of them. So 2 able-bodied males versus another able-bodied male.
2 armed able-bodied males.
So even if they weren't armed, 2 against 1, 2 able-bodied people against 1 able-bodied person. Mm-hmm. That's disparity of force, regardless of if they had weapons or not.
But it is. And where I was going with the DWIs, I think you had 4 people that were able to get a guy out and subdued and held down until officers could arrive. Nobody got hurt. And hey, it worked out. Let's say that guy decided he wanted to fight back, and now those 4 guys end up teaming up on him and beat him down pretty good. Now what do you have? You've basically got this guy was just gang beaten. So
exactly.
I just, again, going back and repeating myself over and over, I just don't see where the juice, the risk is worth it. It's just not.
And another thing too is I tell the students is don't get involved in a situation that you know nothing about.
Yep, absolutely.
If you have no skin in the game, if it's not your fight, for the most part, don't get involved in that. And then I want to go into this. I was looking at some. It's kind of crazy that we're talking about this now, and actually this week I just finished this book. I'll put a link, guys. Deadly Force by Massad Ayoob. I was actually pulling some information from that, and then some stuff from Tom Givens. But so there is no law that exists in the United States whatsoever that allows private citizens to use deadly force to stop a fleeing suspect. And a lot of people think that police can use deadly force to stop a fleeing suspect, but that's not necessarily the case. It's kind of dependent upon the situation. If you want to elaborate on that real quick while I pull this up.
I was actually reading that when you were talking. I have no idea what you just said. So private citizens cannot use deadly force to stop a fleeing suspect. No.
Law enforcement officers can under specific circumstances.
Yes, yeah. And basically they have to have probable cause to believe that, and I'm going right off this because I don't want to misquote it as it's written in v. Garner. Yeah. Probable cause to believe suspect poses a significant threat of death or serious injury to the officer or others. Let's give this an example here. And I want to say, if I remember right, the way that this was, the way this case came down is in 74?
No, it's 85. So, guys, what we're looking at Tennessee v. Garner in 1985. Long story short, I'll essentially read this. It's from Wikipedia, and yes, I double checked to make sure that this information on Wikipedia is correct, because it's not always the case. But it says Tennessee v. Garner is a civil case in which the Supreme Court of the United States held that under the Fourth Amendment, when a law enforcement officer is pursuing a fleeing suspect, the officer may not use deadly force to prevent escape unless the officer has probable cause, which you just said, to believe that the suspect poses a significant threat of death or serious physical injury to officers or others. It was found that the use of deadly force to prevent escape is an unreasonable seizure under the Fourth Amendment, and in the absence of probable cause that the fleeing suspect posed a physical danger.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
and what I was getting at was in 74. What brought this up in 85? Because I knew the date 74, 75 was familiar, and it's actually where the two Memphis police officers. Okay, this is what happened in 74. Respond to a burglary call. I believe one of the officers sees a suspect fleeing across the backyard. He knows he's unarmed, but he's about to get out of his reach to jump a fence, and he puts a round in him so he can catch him to prevent his escape, which is what led to this case. Because, okay, you've got a property crime, breaking it down as simple as you can. You got a property crime. He's shown not that he is a threat to anyone's being. He's not a violent criminal. Yes, it's a property crime. Yeah, we all get agitated with that. But there was no probable cause that this individual was going to hurt anyone. And that is what basically brought this case about, to go against that officers could not shoot a fleeing suspect. That's officers. And like you mentioned before, civilians have absolutely nothing anywhere near. You can walk off in that water.
Yep.
But no, even as law enforcement officers, just to keep someone from running, absolutely not.
Yep. All right, so let's talk. You talked about fleeing property. So I believe, and I don't want to get into this too much, and I actually don't get into this hardly at all during the classes. But Texas, I believe, is the only state that allows you to use deadly force to protect property.
Yes.
Only at night. However, you also have to look at kind of the moral repercussions of that. One of the things that I always tell them, and I said in the video, there's a difference between theft and robbery. There's a difference between theft and burglary. Theft is the unlawful taking of someone's property or services just as is. Robbery is the illegal use of force against somebody to get those goods or services. Burglary, illegal use of force. So when you start to talk about illegal use of force against somebody, things change when we get to that. But when we talk property, I've always been taught, and I honestly believe this, we don't shoot over property.
No.
That's one of the reasons why we have insurance. But even if, like I said, in Texas, they do allow it at night, you have to basically live with yourself if you do that for the rest of your life, thinking, oh my gosh, I shot and killed somebody over them taking the wheels off of my truck. I mean, is that something that you really, really want to live with? So remember, guys, there is a difference between theft and burglary, theft and robbery. When you start to bring into the account illegal use of force against somebody or illegal breaking and entering of somebody's habitation, like in Texas, you're justified in using deadly force if somebody is attempting to or has entered into your home illegally. So,
yes.
But then kind of going back, Georgia calls this a dwelling, but there was really no crime. There was no illegal use of force used against somebody when he went into that house. So,
since we're on this point, I'll bring this up because this is actually something that I have dealt with as an officer. Yeah. Especially here in this area, you have several homes that have the attached garages. You have several homes that have detached garages. For the purpose of this, because it actually falls into place and where this case went, a gentleman comes outside in the night, finds someone breaking into his car in his detached garage. Uses a firearm to subdue this person, and his thought was this subject had just broken into his home. That is not. That is actually considered a burglary of a building, not a burglary of a habitation.
Because nobody lived in there.
No, there is nothing that connects the garage to the residence. It can be a simple breezeway that you see. If that is connected, now it becomes burglary of a habitation once that breezeway has happened. Now, let me reiterate this fact that doesn't mean if you walk out to your garage and it's attached by a breezeway that you can put a slug in somebody and go, he was in my house. Again, as Craig said, and here we go again, is the juice going to be worth the squeeze? You are going to have to justify that you were in imminent fear for your life or your family's safety. You are going to, I promise, fade more civil repercussions based off of that person's family, that person, if they're not killed, that you will ever want to afford. Just because you may be deemed justifiable in your actions does not mean that civilly you will not be found liable. And that often more is what ruins lives more than anything. Go ahead.
No. There's like going back to the book from Masad Ayub. There was so that actually is true. So let me see. So I want you to speak on this while I find this. Let's say you do see somebody, breaking into your car at night. What do you recommend? What is the best course of action for the average person? I'm not talking about somebody who's a black belt in jiu-jitsu or something like that. What is your recommended course of action for the average owner?
Absolutely going bare bones, stripping it down here. Let's. Why would you want to? You do not know what you're walking into. Okay, there's a person breaking into your car. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and say this: you leave anything in your car overnight that's of value, you're an idiot. So
your car. All right, guys, I'm going to use some profanity on this one. Your car is not a damn safe.
No.
We could start another podcast.
Yes, it's gonna. I think the next one needs to be done because if I seriously get called to
stupid shit in their cars, guys, your car is not a damn safe. Matt, continue.
Okay,
sorry. You're gonna get me on
no problem. That's gonna be a rabbit trail. We both go down here in a minute. No, stay inside your home. If you look out in your driveway and your car is being broken into, call the police. Sit back. Be a good witness. Ladies, if you're home alone and your husband's out of town, don't call your husband. He can't do anything. Call the police. If your husband's at work, don't call him. Call the police. Get the police en route. Okay? There is absolutely no reason for anyone, male, female, to go out and confront that person in the driveway because you could potentially be walking into someone who doesn't care and turns around and fires a shot at you or has a knife, stabs you as you make the approach. Is whatever you had in your car worth that? Absolutely not. So stay inside. If you're armed, stay inside armed, where if they make the decision to come into your residence, your family's protected. But stay inside. Do not approach them. Get law enforcement en route and let the property go. It's just not worth it.
Yeah. Let's go back to civil. You were talking about that's how most people, that's kind of their undoing in a situation like this. Guys, if you want to, you can actually go look up. This happened in February of 2007 in Tyler, Texas. Rancher Terry Graham, essentially, he was in a use of force incident, and basically the court costs and the civil litigations basically did him in. Let's talk about, so in Texas, as in with other states, even if your shooting has been determined to be justified in criminal court, you can still be sued civilly.
Absolutely.
That's one of the reasons I use this example. It's one of the reasons how O.J. Simpson got essentially went bankrupt, is because Ron Goldman's father, after the criminal case, sued him and whatnot. So even if your shooting has been justified in criminal court, you can still be sued civilly. However, I want to put a caveat to that, and I just found this out like probably about a couple weeks ago. In 2009, because of this incident in 2007, there was essentially an immunity law that was put in that, and I'm going to read from Massad Ayub's book, Deadly Force, and it says, Texas, like Florida, has a provision in its law that if the shooting has been determined to have been justified, the shooter should be immune to civil lawsuit. You can still be sued, but I think I was looking at the number of cases where justifiable shootings did occur by law-abiding citizens. The likelihood of you getting sued civilly is zero, because
the likelihood of you getting sued is 100%.
Yeah,
the
so
likelihood of you getting sued
that
successfully is very low.
So just note that. But I thought that was interesting. I just saw that. All right, so we talked about how to handle theft. Be a good witness. Like you said, you don't know what you are going to.
And while we're on that, I want to step, because this is another issue that we see quite a bit. What do I mean by when I say be a good witness? Here's what we need. First and foremost, we need locations. Where are we going? What are we looking for? White male, black male, Hispanic male, Asian male. If it's unknown, say unknown. Do not make something up. Clothing descriptions, as detailed as possible. I can't tell you how many times that people will send us to a call and will give a clothing description. When we find the individual, it's nothing of the sort.
It's almost like playing the telephone game.
It is. It very much is. And that's the other thing, is try to keep the information as streamlined as possible. Let's not call our friend, have our friend call the police, and you pass the info to them and they pass the info to the police. It's just going to get distorted the longer the line goes. So get good detailed information. Vehicles, please get if you don't know vehicles, a sedan versus a sports car, a 4-door versus a 2-door, colors. If it's dark outside, use light colors, dark colors. You don't have to give, I think it's red, because cops are human too. We're not robots. If you say red car, we're looking for a freaking red car. And if it ends up being blue, it just looked red on your black and white surveillance system, then guess what? Our chances of catching it are not going to be going. But what we are going to catch, make, model, 4-door, hatchback, pickup truck. Try to stay calm and pick out as details as you can. Did it have an aftermarket set of oversized wheels on it? Was there a big sticker across the back window? How many people were there? 2, 3. One had a hat. One was in a hoodie. Whatever. Don't make anything up. Don't fill in any gaps on your own. If you don't know, say you don't know. That is being a good witness. That is what is going to help us exponentially.
Yeah. And another thing too, guys, is there's kind of like a catch-22. So when that second video came out, there was a catch-22 of the original people. Oh, well, the McMichael, the McMichael duo shouldn't have done that. They should have called the police. And then you have the other side of that. Oh, if they would have called the police would have shot a black man too. And so, yeah, let the police do their job. That's really all I can say about that. I don't want to get into that too much. We talked about.
I will. You're ignorant there if I said it.
Yeah. I mean, we need to know our rights as citizens. We have a right to self-defense. But talking about that, guys, as citizens, we have no right to punish someone or to make them pay. We only have the right to stop force. So like I said, we don't shoot to kill. We shoot to stop the threat. And another quote, I think it's from Mr. Tom Givens again. The question shouldn't be, can I shoot him? It should be, do I have to shoot him? And so we only use deadly force in the immediate defense of life, IDOL. Let's talk about escalation of force real quick, which, man, I'm going to
Florida.
I'm going to pull this video up. Guys, I'm pulling up a video. This is the Florida stand your ground shooting.
Lakeland?
I believe so.
Clearwater. I can't remember.
Michael Draka was the shooter who killed Marquise McGlockton. So this was the case of the car that was parked in a handicapped parking lot. And I think the wife or the girlfriend, she might have been pregnant. I don't necessarily think that matters. But the father and son go into the store. They come out, and then there's a man who's essentially been berating or harassing the lady still in the car.
Yes.
You want to kind of finish it off from there?
No, that's it. Basically, these people pull in. They park in a handicapped parking spot. The black male and his kids go inside, leaving the black female and wife or girlfriend in the car. And this gentleman basically approaches them and starts berating her for being in the handicap spot. Look, honestly, it's irritating. We all think we have something to say, but yet again, do you know what you're stepping off into? Mind your damn business.
And does somebody really parking in a handicapped spot? I mean, is that really affecting you? I mean, I've got a good friend of mine that has a special needs kid, and she gets pissed at that. But I mean,
if you want to say something, say something. Say something. Walk away. Hey, do you really need to be in that spot? Turn. Keep walking. Yeah. You said something. You did your job. Move on. I highly doubt that in any situation these people are going to look at you and go, you know what? You're exactly right. Allow me to move. Sorry, we don't live in that world anymore. It's not going to happen. So, but anyhow, moving into it with your escalation of force, as this guy is berating his girlfriend, he comes out of the store with him and his kid, sees him berating her, and gives the guy a good shove. I can't remember the age difference. I want to say, wasn't elderly, more in his was it 60s or something like that, I think.
I'm not too sure. I think we can honestly say he was probably over 45 or 50.
Yes, yeah, I definitely would say middle-aged by any means. And then I'm not exactly even sure how old. I would say probably late 20s, 30s on the victim here.
But I'd say two able-bodied males, somewhat.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anyhow, black male comes out, gives the white male a shove. White male falls down onto the concrete. Immediately after the guy hits the dirt, you see the black male take a couple steps back. The threat is no longer there. Okay.
If the threat no longer exists, you are no longer justified in using deadly force.
That's it. 2 steps backwards. The guy, both of his hands are clearly out. White subject produces a pistol, puts one in his chest, and kills him on the spot. Yeah. Massively unjustified escalation of force.
Yeah.
And I understand in Florida, the way that their stand your ground law was written, this actually took a while to get indicted and to be sent to the grand jury.
Yes.
But ultimately, he was found guilty for manslaughter.
Yep.
So, again, was the juice worth the squeeze?
And that's, to be honest with you, I think the McMichael brothers, and now we're getting into speculation, which we shouldn't, but I think they're originally charged with murder. I'm thinking probably the prosecution, just because, heck, we've got an amazing DA here in Houston, Kim Ogg. Guys, I'm joking. I'm going to tell you this, guys.
Just threw up in my mouth.
Elections have consequences, and we are seeing this right now in our country. Elections have consequences. But DAs and prosecutors, they're looking for statistics. They're looking for their conviction rate. And so if they know they can get you 100% on a lesser charge, more than likely they'll go after that versus, trying to go after like a murder or an attempted murder. And that's one of the things I always joke with people. I'm like, do you know the difference between murder and attempted murder? Well, attempted murder means they tried to kill you, but they failed for some reason.
Yep.
And so that's another reason why we don't see many cases, legal criminal cases being brought charging people with attempted murder, because it's so easy to convict them on manslaughter charges and lesser charges. So I honestly believe that, like I said, while the McMichael duo, the father and son, were in the wrong, I honestly think I think they're probably going to get charged for a lesser crime, such as manslaughter, kind of like in this case. But that's just my speculation. I still think they were.
On the flip side of that argument, and playing devil's advocate, and by no means am I giving legal advice or offering legal advice, but as a defense to that, or I'm sorry, I guess you could say as a not a defense, but you're looking at two guys that actively approached him. The whole point of attempted murder or manslaughter versus murder gets into the premeditation of it. So you have two guys that actively went out and sought this individual. It's a burden of proof was on them that they didn't seek him out.
So it's good you bring that up. So a lot of people say that this case has some ties in with the Trayvon Martin Zimmerman case in Florida back in 2012, 2011, 2013. I can't remember. And there are some similarities, but one of the things I want to talk about, the difference between the two. So Zimmerman followed Martin. Yes. I think we had talked about this. So Zimmerman followed Martin. The McMichael duo pursued Ahmaud Arbery. There is a difference. Pursuit means you have an ultimate end goal in mind, and that is to capture or apprehend somebody. Yes. They were in pursuit of this person. I think they wanted to catch him, and then and that kind of brings up another thing. You brought that up when we were looking at the video. I don't know if we should get into this, but going after the gunman instead of just running.
It's the footage is not crystal clear, and again, as I always say, and I've said it 1,000 times, I hate to sit back in Monday morning anything off of a poor video, and the video sucked. But from what I'm getting at, and this is 100% possibility. If I'm wrong, hey, apologize. I'm wrong. I'm not afraid to admit it, but it appeared to me, if you look at where they're positioned, you saw Arbery running down what was the left side of the road. The truck was obviously on the right side of the road. You see I believe the McMichael's son, dad was in the bed of the truck with a pistol, if I remember right. Son gets out with a shotgun and is actually standing kind of at the front driver's side corner of the truck, more about where the line is, or the twin yellow line, or the double yellow line. And Arbery actually runs around to the right side, passenger side of the vehicle, and then makes a hard turn back towards McMichael. Now, again, am I accusing anyone of anything? Absolutely not. And I can't sit back and say who has what fight or flight response. For all I know, Arbery could have looked and realized, hey, this dude got a gun. I'm not fast enough to get away. Yeah, and he has a fight instinct,
and he's got to make that decision like that.
You brought up the point that at that point in time, now both people are justified in self-defense.
Yep,
to a point. I'm not going to get into it too much, but at that point, it is. Regardless, McMichael kind of screwed the pooch by showing up with a gun anyway, even getting out of his truck to take it even a step further. But what I'm saying is we can't draw conclusions off the video because we don't know 100% yet. And I said it to you in a text message earlier, and on a post we made on Facebook. Why the hell is it taking 3 months for this shit to come out?
Yeah.
Where were these videos 3 months ago?
Yep.
Why the second this? So what was the guy in the car who was filming? What is his involvement?
So there's a third person in there. I'm not sure what his involvement is, but I know there's a third person other than the father and the son duo.
Yeah. So we've got that. Again, even the footage of him being in the house. Why suddenly 3 months later are we being bombarded with videos that didn't come out the day this guy was shot? Yeah. So I don't know. That's just a question. I don't have the answer. I just I guess call it cops' intuition. Something stinks. From one side or the other, something stinks. So
I'll throw out this: the McMichael father was a police officer for 30-something years, and I think he also a district attorney or something like that.
That I'm unaware of.
Nonetheless, we know for a fact that he knew essentially the district attorney of this county in Georgia where this happened.
Local law enforcement.
Yep. So people know people, and
I hope the guy that's not the case being an officer, but you just don't know.
Yep. I agree with that. That doesn't pass the smell test.
No.
So we were talking about escalation of force, guys. We had brought up that video in Florida where the gentleman was the Michael Draka, and then the Marquise McLaughlin.
Yes,
we talked about that. Stand your ground. So when Florida has some weird stand your ground laws, it's a very liberal interpretation. Texas, as I said in the previous video, you've got to meet 3 requirements as long as you have a legal right to be present where force is used. You're not engaged in criminal activity, which Mr. Arbery, like I said, we don't know.
Yet to be determined.
But we can only go off of what is, not what if. So, yeah. So I'll leave it at that. And then here's the thing where, like I said, where I think the two screwed that up. You cannot provoke the other person. So you cannot. So I can't pick a fight with Matt. Matt returns fire, and then I claim self-defense. It just doesn't work like that. So you can't provoke the other party whom force is being used against. That's another area where I think that the McMichael duo screwed up here. So we've got that. It's stand your ground in that Florida. In Texas, and I'd mentioned this again in that video, if y'all want to look it up, Raul Rodriguez v. Texas, that Baytown firefighter. We're talking about escalation of force. He was a Baytown firefighter. He had previous interaction, and it wasn't a great relationship with his neighbors. His neighbors were throwing a party. Music got loud. He goes over there and is recording the whole thing while he brings a handgun over there, and he's using all the correct terms. I'm standing my ground. I'm in fear for my life, and he actually ends up shooting and killing somebody. He's serving time right now because he escalated that conflict. So it will be interesting to see. I personally believe the McMichael duo escalated that. That's just my view, but it will be interesting to see how that is played out in court. But that's just my 2 cents. Yeah, guys, be a good witness. We're talking about citizen's arrest. I'm not a big fan of it. Only in specific circumstances, and you got to remember, if you're a civilian trying to citizen's arrest somebody, you have no perceived authority of that person, so they might check you on that, and so you've got to have the skills in order to subdue that person without causing them any physical or bodily harm. So being a good witness, not talking about citizen's arrest. Escalation of force, guys, we can only respond with the same level of force that is perceived to being used against us, and we do not have the right to punish somebody or to make them pay, quote unquote. Only the right to stop force. So yeah, it'll be interesting. There's parallels to the Trayvon Martin case. There's parallels to this incident in Florida from a couple years ago. And then even that Joe Horn incident in Texas, like I said, that was that can be another episode. But
again, found to be justified and is flat broke and lost everything he has from the civil.
Yep. So, that I had no idea.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yep. Is it worth it?
Yeah, guys. So I'll essentially I'll let Matt close it out, but before I do, I want to go back to the first sentence that I gave y'all from Mr. Tom Givens. I will forget I have a gun unless I need it to terminate an immediate deadly threat to me or to someone for whom I am responsible for. Let me unpack that for you real quick. I will forget I have a gun, meaning I will carry a gun on me all the time, legally, and I will keep that thing concealed until I need it to terminate an immediate deadly threat to myself, so to prevent death or great bodily harm to myself or to someone for whom I am responsible for. For me, that's my wife and that's my kids. So I'll leave you with the closing arguments, but like I said, that sums it up.
No,
right there.
Absolutely not. No arguments with that at all. And not to get into another topic when we're closing this out, but again, guys, kind of what I hope to do by coming on here is kind of bring you what I'm seeing in the real world and what is an everyday thing. Getting back to an escalation of force and something we live here in Houston, horrible traffic. How many times a day does somebody pull out in front of you, swerve in your lane, piss you off? I do not care what someone does to you if you pull out a weapon and you show them that you have it, that you have a weapon in your vehicle and they see it. You have just committed an aggravated assault. And there has been more of those here lately. I think everybody is going batshit because of the freaking COVID. They're getting out.
That is threat of force.
Absolutely, it is. And if you don't get an ag assault, you're going to get deadly conduct. It's just one or the other. I've seen it fly both ways. So as Craig just said, forget you have the damn thing until it is absolutely necessary. It's just not worth it. So other than that,
cool. Thank you guys again for watching. Matt, thank you for your time. Matt actually Matt just got off work not too long ago, and I know he's tired and he wants to get home. But like I said, guys, we're just trying to approach this from an objective, not necessarily having one opinion or another. Just kind of looking at the facts, kind of what we know is how we focus on law and self-defense and things like that. Just trying to provide an objective point of view. Hopefully somebody gets a little bit educated off of this. But anyway, guys, thank y'all for watching. Once again, if you are in the Houston area and you do want to get some firearms training,
please come see us.
Defensive firearms training, Templar Defense TX or shootingclasses.com, Templar Defense. We have a passion for what we do. I don't, if y'all haven't seen that right now, we have a passion for educating and teaching people and helping people become as proficient as they can.
All skill levels.
Yes.
Absolutely all skill levels.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, I appreciate y'all for watching. If you haven't liked if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. I'm not sure what the comment section is going to do. Hopefully it'll police itself, but yeah.
Keep it professional.
That's all we ask. Just keep a good debate in there. I actually had to ban somebody because he basically said, I'm glad somebody died. And I'm like, man,
yeah, none of that.
We
have no room for that.
You can be against what I'm saying 100%, and you have the right to do that. But as soon as you praise the death of somebody, you are gone. I cannot tolerate that. But
absolutely.
Anyway, Matt, thank you, guys. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. Be safe, be smart, be skilled. We will catch you on the next one.
Stay safe. Thank you, guys.